بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. We begin inshallah with the remaining fourth school, which is the school of Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani. May Allah have mercy on him and on all of the four Imams of the great schools of thought. Now, Imam Ahmad is like all the other Imams, pious, righteous, had a lot of knowledge and a lot. This came down, I don't know when.
A lot.
And he had a lot of piety in him. But before we go into talking about this great Imam, his name was Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani. Some of them considered or disputed whether he was an Arab or a non-Arab. But definitely, without any doubt to anyone who knows in lineages, that he was a pure-bred Arab. He, may Allah have mercy on him, was from the tribe of Shayban, and that was in Iraq. He was born there. And as many great of our scholars, he was brought up by his mother. His father died when he was young, and unfortunately, he was brought up as an orphan. He wasn't at all rich, but he wasn't at the same time stone broke. He had just enough. And this is one of the signs of nobility. When a child grows up undistracted by the wealth, by the power, by everything else, he grows up to be more focused. And this is why our children are not focused. They spend so much time on video games, on football, on things that distract them. And when you ask them to memorize a song, they will pick it up in the first time they hear it. But if you give them a chapter of the Quran and ask them to memorize it, they would find it one of the most difficult tasks to do. When was Imam Ahmad born? I told you this before, 164 Hijri, and he died in the year 241. The noticeable thing, subhanallah, maybe this has no significance, but it may draw someone's attention to the fact that he was born in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal. Like who? Like the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And died on the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal. Like the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is a coincidence. It has no significance. Nothing at all, but it is good to know about it. طيب. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was known to be among those who were pious and righteous. And Abdullah ibn Ahmad, his son, says that my father used to pray every single day 300 rak'ah. And this is what? This is voluntary prayers. And the Salaf, this was well known about them. No one dares to say, Akhi, this is a bid'ah. What do you mean by bid'ah? He said the Prophet ﷺ did not pray as much. Yes, but the Prophet did not deny us from praying as much. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you look at the way that the companions used to pray, you will be shocked. Because they, the companions, used to pray as much. Abdullah ibn Umar used to pray so long prayers, and this is not an innovation. Why? Because there is something that is restricted to ibadah, you may not add or delete. But there is an open door for ibadah for you to pick as much as you wish. So if I, for example, would like to spend my time from now till Dhuhr saying Subhanallah wa bihamdih, is there any problem in that? No problem. No, bid'ah. No, it's not bid'ah. There is something that is restricted. The Prophet had never done, alayhi salatu wasalam. So I cannot say after prayers, Qul huwa Allahu ahad 12 times. Specifying the surah, specifying the number without any reference. One says, the sky is the limit. He said, yes, but when you put a number and you designate the position, then you are in a bid'ah. But if from now until Maghrib, I would like to say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad, I don't count. A million times. No, any problem? No problem. The sky is the limit. Therefore, you do not come and say that Imam Ahmad used to pray 300 and this is wrong, this is so much. No, it's not. His son Abdullah says when he was sick, he was tired, he used to pray 150. Now compare apple to apple. How many times do we miss, not per month, but per week, the sunnah, the 12 sunnah? Whoever preserves 12 sunnah, what will happen to him? Allah will build him a house in Jannah. How many times do we miss it per week? There's a problem. If this is his habit when doing it in such a fashion, and it's not part of the recommended sunnah, rather it is part of... Malish, I'm talking and not concentrating, so if you don't understand what I'm saying, that's good, because I don't understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to get connected, but I will inshallah eventually reach there. Hotspot on. Even the hotspot is not turning.
You got a number?
Yeah. Okay, now it's on. Alhamdulillah. Okay, where were we? Okay, what else? Ahmad said, whatever hadith I wrote, I have acted up. Look, this is also one part of his piety, being pious. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Saf, لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you preach what you do not act upon? Imam Ahmad, part of his vast knowledge is that he used to walk the talk. He said, every single hadith I wrote, I acted upon. Now, this is difficult, when you come to talk about it in our level. What about someone who memorizes approximately 1,000,000 hadith, 1,000 hadith, like Imam Ahmad? He said, every single thing I acted upon except one hadith, which the Prophet ﷺ said, or was narrated that the Prophet performed cupping, hijama. And he gave Abu Taybah, the companion who performed hijama, 1 dinar. So I decided to act upon it. I performed hijama and I gave the man 1 dinar. 1 dinar is equivalent to what you can buy a ram, a sheep. In the hadith, the Prophet gave one of the companions 1 dinar. I told him to go and buy a sheep. So he bought a sheep. On his way back, a man told him, Wallahi, this is a big fat sheep. Do you want to sell it? He said, yes. How much? 2 dinar. So he sold it for 2 dinar, went back to the market, bought a sheep for 1 dinar, and came to the Prophet ﷺ with 1 dinar and 1 sheep. So the Prophet gave him the dinar is back, and the sheep is a bonus. So the Prophet ﷺ asked Allah for barakah in his transactions. The companions say, we saw this man, wallahi, if he sold sand, he would have made profit in it. Because of the barakah of the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. Okay. It's not opening again. Why is not they open? Okay. Al-Rabi' said, Al-Shafi'i told us, Ahmad is an Imam in 8 qualities. Imam in the Hadith, Imam in jurisprudence, that is Fiqh, Imam in language, Imam in Quran, Imam in poverty, Imam in Zuhd, Imam in piety, Imam in Sunnah. Meaning that Al-Imam al-Shafi'i is praising Imam Ahmad not to have been among those who teach, learn, preach in order to gain money. If you look at his biography, you will find out that he was among the least interested in dunya. He would not get involved in disputes, or he would not get involved in acquiring a position. Imam Shafi'i himself told him that there is an opening position for a judge. You know, the judge has authority. The least is that people come and bring you food, bring you gifts, bring you things as form of bribe. Imam Ahmad said to Imam Shafi'i, if you ever repeat such a request to me, you will never see my face. Asking me to be appointed in a government position, this is a heinous request. Coming from you, I tolerate it once. Next time, I will not meet you, I will not talk to you. Now, Abdullah ibn Ahmad says, Abu Zar'ah, and he's one of the great Imams of Hadith, told me, your father memorizes 1,000,000 Hadith, 1,000 Hadith. It was said to him, how do you know? He said, I reviewed with him once and I took them from the different sections, meaning that he acquired knowledge at the hands of Imam Ahmad, and he learned from him the different chapters of Barakah. And he learned from him the different chapters that the hadiths are compiled upon, and he counted it, and it was almost 1,000 hadith. Now, a question would rise. How is it possible that there are 1,000,000 hadith while we hardly have 10 or 15,000 hadith authentic and fabricated? The old scholars of hadith, when they memorized إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, this is one matan, they memorized it with 50 to 100 different hadiths, narrations, chain of narrators. And this is why when Al-Imam al-Bukhari came from Bukhara into Baghdad, into Al-Iraq. When he came, they wanted to make a test to him. They said, Wallah, we heard so much about this scholar of Bukhara, and we would like to give a test for him. What did they do? They selected 10 men, and with each man they gave him 10 hadith. So the total of what? 100 hadith. Each hadith has a chain of narrators and a matan, the text itself, but they mixed it up. So they changed this one here, and it's like an aerobic cube. So they changed it, and when the Imam came, he sat. Of course, he was young, but he was an Imam. He wasn't hyper and talking and doing things that he's not supposed to do. So each one of them said, Imam, I have a question about a hadith. Hadith number 1. He gave the chain of narrator with a different sanad, with a different matan. So the Imam said, I don't know this. The second hadith, third hadith, 10th hadith, and every hadith he said, I don't know it. So the man sat, another one stood up, and the same process. And the man just simply says, I don't know it. So the people were disputing, the scholars said, some of them said, Wallah, the guy is smart. He figured it out. But it doesn't show on his face. This is what we call poker face. So it doesn't show. He's not smiling. He doesn't, yeah, I know. No, he's a alim. The others say, no, this guy has nothing. He doesn't have knowledge. After the 10 finished, he said, you through? He said, yes. He said, as for number 1, his first hadith is so and so and so. He repeated the wrong narration. To memorize the good narration is normal, but to memorize it once, though wrong, and he corrected him by fixing this one with that one with this one until he solved it. After that incident, everybody said, Khalas, he is the Imam. We know, we do not dispute, we do not test him. So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal memorized 1,000 hadith, and he was older than Imam Bukhari. Imam Bukhari came to Imam Ahmad, just to show you the caliber of Imam Ahmad. Imam Bukhari came to him and showed him the Sahih and told him, this is what I have compiled, and he gave him some advice and some corrections according to his knowledge. May Allah have mercy upon them all. Okay, what else? Abdul Razzaq. Who is Abdul Razzaq? Do we know? See, our problem is that we are limited to different or certain types of books. Musannaf Abdul Razzaq is one of the trusted books of hadith. What value does it have over the other books of hadith like Tirmidhi, Nasa'i? That it has the narrations of the companions a lot. What we know as al-Athar. And you cannot acquire fiqh simply but by reading Quran and Sunnah. And that's it. No, you have to understand the Quran and Sunnah. How? Through the understanding of the Salaf. So where do I get the companions' narrations, the Tabi'een narrations, Tabi'een narrations from? Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, Musannaf ibn Abi Shaybah, Mustadrak al-Imam, Mustadrak al-Hakeem, etc. These books contain a lot of these narrations. So Abdul Razzaq was one of the great Imams in Yemen. And he says that I have never seen anyone or any person more learned in jurisprudence nor more pious than Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Of course, Abdul Razzaq is one of the Sheikh, because anyone you learn hadith from, he's your direct Sheikh. So he was one of the shuyukh of Imam Ahmad. The advantage of Imam Ahmad upon the 3 previous Imams is that he did not leave a place without traveling to. When he started acquiring hadith, he was 16 years of age. He stayed with his Imam in Baghdad for 4 years until he took everything that Imam had. Then he was allowed to travel. Now, bear in mind that he started traveling when he was 20. He was in Al-Kufa, Baghdad. He went to Al-Basra. He went to Al-Sham. He went to Egypt. He went to Al-Hijaz, Mecca and Medina, and he went to Yemen. Abdul Razzaq was in Yemen. He met him in Mecca during the Hajj season. And with him was Yahya ibn Ma'in, one of the great Imams of Hadith. They were always together. One of the funny stories was that Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in and Imam Ahmad were traveling, and they passed by a gathering, circle of knowledge. At their time, there were a lot of storytellers who would just sit, no WhatsApp, no Twitter, no Facebook. So this was their social media. They sit and the guy says, and so happened, and the hellfire came, and the angels did this, and all of these are what? Fabrications. But people enjoy listening to tales. So Imam Ahmad and Imam Yahya came and saw this storyteller saying that, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in told me. that the Prophet said, alayhi salam, so and so and so. And they told me that the Jannah is description is so and so. And they told me, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahya ibn Ma'in. And each one is looking, did you tell him? He says, no, I've never met him. So after the class was over and everybody went out, Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in went to the man. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Akhi, my name is Ahmad ibn Hanbal and this man is Yahya ibn Ma'in. And you're reporting things that you've heard from us. So where did you get it from? And look at the audacity of such people. He laughed in sarcasm from them and said, do you think you are the only Ahmad ibn Hanbal Yahya ibn Ma'in in the world? There are so many of you. And he left. So Yahya ibn Ma'in was with great Imam Ahmad. They were all great compilers of hadith. In Hajj, they were fortunate to meet Abdul Razzaq. So Yahya ibn Ma'in said, this is Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So Abdul Razzaq started to say, may Allah bless you. I have heard so many good things of you. I pray to Allah that He make you steadfast and increase you in knowledge. Imam. So Yahya said, okay, can we come tomorrow here in Mecca and hear the hadith from you? He said, yes, inshallah. After he left, Ahmad was angry. He said, why did you say that? He said, why not? This is what we were traveling to Yemen, 1 month travel, 1 month journey. The guy is here in Mecca. He said, no, by Allah, I will not accept this. I went from Baghdad with my intention to travel and to spend money and to put effort into learning the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I would not compromise this ajr. It's easy, it's coming to me. No, I will travel. And he refused to listen from him until he went and traveled all the way to Sana'a, to Yemen, to learn from him. This is how they put so much effort in learning. It's not like what we do nowadays. We want something, Sheikh, 3 hours is a lot. Can you make it in 5 minutes? Summarize. I can't make it today. I have to go take my kids to have a football match, but I'll come at 1 o'clock. Can you give it to me in a nutshell, inshallah? This is not the way of acquiring knowledge. Humbleness, dedication, patience, tolerance, and travel. You have to put some effort in order, because this knowledge, if you give it all of yourself, it will give you a little of it. Knowledge, if you give it all yourself, all your money, all your time, it will give you very little of it. So you have to dedicate more and more. So, who did Imam Ahmad start to learn from? Abu Yusuf. He learned from Abu Yusuf, the student of Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Hanifa, Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani, and Abu Yusuf al-Qadi. Both were prominent Imams of their times and associates of Imam Abu Hanifa. So he began to learn from him. So he took the fiqh of Abu Hanifa, his great friend and contemporary Imam al-Shafi'i. He learned from him, and from Imam Shafi'i, who learned from Imam Malik. So he managed to gather all the fiqh of the previous 3 schools of thought and merge it with his own. When did he start to teach and become an imam? When he was 40 years of age. Because the 20 years was spent in collecting and traveling and learning. And when he was 40, his fame was all over the world. So people came from all over the world to learn from him. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, he is different than Ibn al-Qayyim. Ibn al-Qayyim is a student of Ibn Taymiyyah. But Ibn al-Jawzi, he is one of the scholars of the 4th century. He is a Hanbali. And he says that his classes were attended by 5,000 people. 500 of them only wrote the hadith that he was narrating. 4,500 came only to learn from his moral conduct and his ethics and the way he speaks. Nowadays, one of the greatest things that we lack is when we learn from the Sheikh his generosity. Yalla, lunch is on me today. I was joking. They learn from him his generosity. They learn from him his tolerance. They learn from him his politeness, the way he dresses, the way he walks. We lack this nowadays. We do not find this nowadays. We would like to have scholars that would teach us. I remember, I'm stalling for time, I don't have material, so. No, I'm joking, we have inshallah enough. When I used to call Sheikh bin Baz, I told you yesterday, he had 2 telephones only. With no multiple lines, only 2 telephones, and he used to sit in his office in Riyadh between Maghrib and Isha, Riyadh time. So I used to call him, redial until it connects. His assistant raises the phone while I can hear him talking to the other person. So he answers him, regardless of the answer. Now, by the time he gives the assistant the telephone and he picks up the second call, wallahi, in these few seconds, I can hear him say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Subhanallah. Naam. He utilizes the time between calls to make what? To make dhikr. Now, I've learned this from the Sheikh. I remember that when I used to go from one place to the other, I used to whistle. I used to sing a song. You know, songs that are so many centuries ago. Shaitan reminds you of them. You hear one word, all of a sudden you continue to complete the whole thing. What is this? Whenever I wanted to do something, I remember Sheikh bin Baz. So I said, no, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, but it's more rewarding. Let me do this. So this is what you learn from real ulama. That you learn from the way they speak. If you go to a sheikh and he is impulsive, he is rude, he's abusive. If someone asks him a question, he says, who are you to ask me a question? Look at this, are you stupid? And he makes fun of him. What will you learn? You will learn the same attitude. If you sit with a sheikh, all what he does is, da'i so-and-so, he is an innovator. He doesn't understand anything. He doesn't have knowledge. He does corrupt aqeedah. And he just keeps on slandering Muhammad, Abdullah, Ali, Ahmad. Everyone he knows. Okay, they're all bad. Who's a good scholar? I don't know about the good scholars, but you have to look. And you will find them, inshallah, maybe close to you. Do you learn from such a sheikh? It's problematic. People attended Imam Ahmad's class because they learned from him. And don't get me wrong, even Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, they were all the same. But he was more prominent because he is closer to our times. Those times they were focusing only on ilm. Imam Ahmad time, they were focusing on 360 degrees. Everything, his ilm, okay, he was a scholar. He was knowledgeable. He was pious. His akhlaq was at the top. Did he mix with the government? Did he have a land gift or money coming from, the government sponsoring him? Because this is also, and they tell us, he would not accept 1 dirham from the ruler. To the extent that his son Salih, he heard that he accepted a gift from the Khalifa. He refused to enter his house till he died. He said, no, I will not eat at your house. You eat from the Khalifa. And the Khalifa money is haram. It's all taking from the people, it's taxations, etc. And he refused. So when you come to look at him, you will find that he was what? A real imam. Now, historians say that Allah Azza wa Jal granted victory to Islam through 2 men. One, Abu Bakr. When the Prophet died, alayhi salatu wasalam, and all the tribes apostatized it, and he's the only one who stood in their face and he fought them until restored Islam. And Imam Ahmad. When the fitna of the Mu'tazila, and the Mu'tazila are those who came and started to talk with philosophy about the attributes of Allah. So they refuse to say that the Quran is Kalamullah, is the attribute of Allah. They say no, it is created, it is makhluq. And this means that you are saying something about Allah Azza wa Jal's beautiful attributes that contradicts with the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The vast majority of people conceded, and I talk about scholars, because either this or the sword, except Muhammad ibn Nuh and Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Muhammad ibn Nuh was executed, beaten until he died. Ahmad ibn Hanbal was imprisoned, was tortured, was flogged 2+ years. 3 rulers of the Abbasi Khilafah or Dawla or Al-Ma'mun, Al-Wathiq and Al-Mu'tasim, or Al-Mu'tasim and Al-Wathiq. 3 of them continued to have this harsh judgment on him until Al-Wathiq, after a few years, Allah Azza wa Jal granted him hidayah and he took him out. He elevated Ahl Sunnah and he made the whole thing being rectified. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal. Now, Al-Imam al-Shafi'i, we spoke about that. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Wow, big thing, John. Big thing, real thing. Jazakallah khair.
Quality, not quantity.
Ahsant, barakallah fikum. Then you are in the wrong place. Sit here.
No, you can pick my place.
No, he's here. This is empty place here. So, Imam al-Shafi'i used to address Imam Ahmad. Look at the humbleness of Imam al-Shafi'i. Imam Ahmad is younger and was one of his students, yet he acknowledges that his knowledge in Sunnah is far greater than Imam Shafi'i. So he says, Imam Ahmad, if ever you get a hadith that is authentic with you, please update me so that we can refer to it. And this is the methodology of all Imams, that the hadith is the corner point that they depend on. It's not something that a hadith. Nowadays, you talk to students of knowledge and you tell them the Prophet says, they do this, which shows you that such a person you cannot learn from. Any person who does not have full respect to a single hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, any person who mocks or ridicules the one single hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, wallahi, I would even hesitate to make fun of a weak hadith. I would hesitate. Why? Because maybe my knowledge is not that strong. Maybe after a week or two, I discover it is an authentic hadith. How would I feel? Always have this great respect for the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, because this respect means that you're respecting the Prophet himself. Not few words, but you're respecting the Prophet through that. When we come to the history of the Hanbali school of thought, again we have 3 stages: the beginning, the expansion era, and the settlement era. One would say, why do we have these stages? First of all, the 4 Imams had a beginning, has a start, where the Imam either wrote a book, like in the case of Imam Malik, or the contemporary wrote his fatwas, his verdicts was collected, but this was not a full-fledged madhab yet. So those who came in the expansion era started to expand. So they come to the fatwa of the Imam and it says, okay, the common denominator between all of his fatwas is that we should follow the following procedure in order to reach a verdict. So Hanafi madhab has different procedure than the Shafi'i, than the Maliki, than the Hanbali. And then you have the settlement era. And in the settlement era, these are the late scholars who have everything in front of them. So they start to filter the books and they put the methodology of the madhab that is followed until date. The date of the settlement era and what comes after it. Now we have books, and these books depend. Some of them are concise in size, so they don't give you more than one opinion. And this is the madhab. So it tells you, tahara, water, if it is changed in smell, taste or color, then it is tahir. If it's changed with a pure substance, it is tahir, meaning that you cannot perform wudu with it. It's not tahur. Now, they say that this is the madhab. For example, there are other books which would expand a little bit, and it said, no, there are two opinions in the madhab of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. One, it is tahir and tahur. One, it is tahir only. And they write this for you. Then you have the third and most widely accepted is the books that deal with the different schools of thought. Yani, for example, in your madhab, in your Shafi'i madhab, one of the biggest and well-known encyclopedias is Al-Majmu' Sharh Al-Muhadhab. This was written by Imam An-Nawawi, and it's almost this big. I have it in my, I used to have it in my bookshelf. It's so big, so huge. And when you read it, you find crazy things. Imam Nawawi, yani he died when he was like 36 years of age, or 40 maybe. No, I don't know. Yani and he wasn't married, by the way, like Imam. He wasn't married, but he compiled so many books in a Shafi'i madhab. Among them is Minhaj al-Talibin. Minhaj al-Talibin. Now, Imam al-Nawawi was in the first settlement era, because there was a second settlement era, but among the first was Imam al-Nawawi. He wrote Minhaj al-Talibin, which was explained by the Shafi'i scholars in so many titles. And he himself explained it in Rawdat al-Talibin of his own. But when you come to see, you find out that the late scholars of the madhab are the one who settled it, and they channeled it so that you can learn. And this is why we have these books. Imam Ahmad never wrote a book of his own. Then you have the students who compiled his masail, the problems that he used to face. So one comes, Sheikh, if a person has 4 wives, he divorced one of them, and she is in iddah, can he marry? So this is a mas'ala. Can he marry? No, because he's still married to 4. This one who he divorced is still his wife. He can reconcile. If he dies, she will inherit. So he cannot marry, because he would be marrying a 5th. And this is one mas'ala, one problem. So they compiled it. Among them was Al-Khallal, Ghulam Al-Khallal, Al-Khirqi, Al-Hasan Al-Hamid, and all of these different names where we have, and inshallah we don't need to go into details with them. By the way, I'm not answering WhatsApp, I'm just seeing the schedule. 10:30 to 10:40. Break is 10:40, huh? 10:40. Wallah, it's a long time. We will finish. We move on to the issue of following a madhab. Now, we have a big problem among the students of knowledge. We have people that say, as you find in page 23, that it is mandatory for you to follow one single madhab. And on the opposite side, we find people saying that it is totally prohibited for you to follow a madhab. And in between, the vast majority of scholars say that it is permissible. So what is our stance? Where do we stand when it comes to schools of thought? First of all, condemning prejudice and keeping alliances accordingly is among the consensus of all scholars of Islam. Now, these are the things on page 22. These are the consensus of scholars. What do we mean? All scholars of all different schools of thought agree that you must not keep allegiance to a person just because he's Hanbali and you're Hanbali. No, this is something that is abhorred. This is something that is not acceptable, because then it is not on the Quran and the Sunnah. I keep my allegiance because wallah, he's a Shafi'i like me, so we are brothers, we have strong and I keep enmity with him because he's a Hanafi. And this was prevailing in the past centuries. In Haram, Mecca, the Masjid al-Haram, they used to have 4 mimbar. One for Shafi'i people to pray, one for Hanafi, one for Maliki, one for Hanbali. Not only that, Hanafis and Shafi'is had long disputes to the extent that it was prohibited to marry from one another. They would not marry, as if it's a different religion. The consensus of scholars is that this is not acceptable. So we have to believe this now. Now, I'm not talking about issues of dispute. I'm talking about the consensus of scholars. Number 2, accepting all 4 schools of thought and accepting its books. Meaning that nowadays when we hear calls from so-called students of knowledge saying that we have to burn all the books of the madhab. Some of them come to a Fath al-Bari of Imam ibn Hafiz ibn Hajar and they burn it. They come to the books of al-Mughni of Imam ibn Qudama, they burn it. They say this causes drift and confusion among the Muslims. We don't want this. No, this is not true. We accept all 4 schools of thought. And here you can illustrate your knowledge and tolerance. Meaning, I see and believe few things that are mandatory in my opinion. Yet Haj Arif has different opinion. Either he accepts mine or I leave him. No. As long as he's following a book that is authentic, a madhab that is accepted, khalas. If he is a Hanafi and he decides to put his hand under his belly in salat, and I believe that I have to put it on the chest according to my madhab, according to the hadith, so would I feel a little bit drawn away? Even if I don't say it, but he doesn't follow this. No, this is his belief. This is his conviction. I had a debate with Abu Amina Bilal Phillips in Birmingham about was it Salat? No, Salat. Yeah, about Salat. He says that whoever abandons Salat is not a kafir. I believe he's a kafir. So would I not eat with him or speak with him because he's different opinion? I had another debate with Abu Osama regarding niqab. I believe that it is a must. So when I see a woman with not wearing the niqab, would I accuse her or would I say she is not worthy? No, she believes in it. She has a belief of her own. I respect that. I would not judge people because of what I believe, unless it's black and white. If I believe that going to soothsayers and fortune tellers is shirk, and one goes there and I say, well, I respect your this is shirk, I don't respect it. But if it's a difference of opinion, a Shafi'i says that if you touch a woman, even if your wife, you make wudu, they lose a lot of water. This is his opinion. The rest of the schools of thought say no. The Prophet used to kiss his wife and goes to prayer without wudu. So I respect, we as part of our knowledge, respect other people's own conviction, providing it falls under what? The 4 schools of thought. But if someone comes, he says, Ya Sheikh, my opinion is that I believe zawajul mut'ah, marriage of mut'ah, is halal. I look in the four schools of thought. No. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. No. Where did you bring this? I said, a Ja'fari book. Shia. This is zina. So, but I respect you. No, I don't respect you. This is unaccepted. He said, Sheikh, but this is his conviction. He said, this is his conviction in the wrong way. If his conviction is that stealing my money is halal, so I said, okay, I understand. Here's my wallet? No. There are things that are possible to tolerate, and there are things that are unacceptable in Islam completely. So, number 3, the follower can adopt a different opinion if reached the level of ijtihad. And this is an issue that would put us in a dilemma. Why? Now, the issue of ijtihad. What is ijtihad? What is ijtihad? Fatwa? No. Opinion, fatwa is the same. No. What does ijtihad mean? Ijtihad comes from the Arabic word juhd, which is effort. So in fiqh, you will find a lot the usage of ijtihad, and it means to exert your effort in reaching a verdict. So I did my best until I have no more resources. Khalas, I give up. Then this is ijtihad. Like, who's qualified to make ijtihad? This is a big problem, because ijtihad requires tools. You have to have different forms, abilities, sciences in order to make ijtihad. Would I accept someone who is a revert coming and saying to me, Akhi, the tafsir of this ayah is wrong? Oh, where did you find it? He said, I found it in Tafsir ibn Kathir. This is wrong. I said, okay. How do you know? I said, I studied it. I said, MashaAllah. Then let's see, you have ijtihad. He said, of course. Do you know Arabic? He said, no. Do you memorize the Quran? He said, no. Have you done any studies in the sciences of the Quran or in the Sunnah? He said, no, but this doesn't sound logical. He said, sound logical, this is not ijtihad. Rest, please, take a mattress and a pillow, put your head, and sleep. The sleep of a transgressor is ibadah. Sleep, inshallah, Allah will reward you for that, rather than be awake and give us this nonsense of yours. Ijtihad has tools. And this is why scholars say that the type of ijtihad, there are 3, 4, 5, 7, depending on how you classify it. What kind of types are you talking about? There is what is known as mujtahid mutlaq. What is the meaning of mutlaq? He is all around. You know, you have this small Honda. It can go in little roads. You have the bigger Honda. It can go when it's raining. And then you have the 4-wheel drive, a multi-purpose SUV. This goes in rocks, in sands. So Mujtahid al-Mutlaq is the SUV. When you come, you find that he's perfect and fluent, not in Arabic, in the sciences of Arabic. So Nahu wal-Sarf, in al-Bayan, al-Balagha, the whole 9 yards. Okay? When you come to Quran, he doesn't only memorize the Quran. He also knows ulum al-Quran. He knows usul al-tafsir. He knows al-nasikh wal-mansukh, what was abrogated and what was not. And he knows everything regarding the tafsir. When you go to hadith, the guy memorizes the hadith. He knows it. He's gone through it. So many of the students of knowledge, when you tell them about Sahih al-Bukhari, said, never read it. But I know how to search. He's got the computer like myself. Without computer, I'm nothing. Huh? If I needed to know hadith, I just Google it or search for it. I find it. It says Bukhari, Muslim. It is Sahih. It's authentic. Did you see it in Bukhari? I said, no, but my laptop says it's okay. And this is wrong. A Mujtahid al-Mutlaq knows this because he explained it, he interpreted it, he memorized it. When you come to fiqh, the guy doesn't study only one madhab. He studied all four madhabs, and he know the ins and outs, and why did they make the mistake, and why did they say other than what the other schools of thought said. So he has comprehensive knowledge. This man does not require to pick up the phone and ask the Sheikh, what's the ruling on so and so? Because he is the Sheikh. He is fully equipped to learn from the Quran and the Sunnah. So this kind of al-mujtahid, it is accepted for a follower of a school of thought such as al-Imam al-Nawawi, this kind of scholar, to follow a school of thought while following the evidences. Meaning that he's an imam in al-Shafi'i madhab, but you can find in his writings that this is what Imam Shafi'i says, but the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is different, and this is most authentic. Yet he is a devout follower of the Shafi'i madhab, without any doubt. He's not like Ibn Taymiyyah, for example. Ibn Taymiyyah is one of the students of the Hanbali madhab, but he is mujtahid mutlaq, meaning that he follows the principles of Imam Ahmad, has no problem in telling you that this is wrong in Imam Ahmad's madhab, and this is right because the Prophet said so and so and so and so. End of story. And he has the qualities of being a mujtahid mutlaq. Then you have a second category, which is mujtahid muqayyad. He's limited. And such mujtahid can be Imam Nawawi, because he never goes against Imam Shafi'i's schools of thought, though he's capable. Yet he always follows the principles of Imam Shafi'i and gives you the evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah that backs it up, or when there is a difference of opinion, he gives you the most authentic opinion. So he doesn't initiate something from his own. There also can be a third category of mujtahid al-muqayyad, which is a person who is not capable of giving fatwa or verdicts in everything. Why? Due to his, I would not say incompetence, but due to his lack of knowledge of making him mujtahid mutlaq. Yani he has little bit in Arabic, he has little bit in usul al-tafsir, he has a lot in the fiqh of salat. So everything about salat, inside out, he knows it. Do we call him mujtahid mutlaq or muqayyad? No, we say that he's muqayyad in salat. So you may, and the vast majority of students of knowledge who graduate from universities, if I have a PhD in Sharia, this doesn't mean I'm a scholar. A PhD nowadays is a thesis that you compile, write, and come up with, but it doesn't mean that you are qualified. I sit with a lot of PhD holders, and they don't know what they're talking about. Their thesis was in the movement of the finger in salat. So they know everything that has to do with moving the finger in tashahhud. For example, it's not, of course, if it was that easy, I would have got 5. They have knowledge in this, but if you ask them, okay, akhi, a man died, leaving a wife, a mother, 1 daughter, 3 siblings, and 4 grandchildren. What is the inheritance? I don't know. I didn't kill him. Yeah, I didn't ask if he killed him or not. I said how to distribute the inheritance. I have no idea. Yeah, you have PhD in Sharia. Yeah, but it was only in moving the finger. Show me which one and I'll move the finger and tell you. So, again, it's a thesis. But he might be mujtahid in this branch. This person is mujtahid in the rulings of Hajj. I come to him. Any question in Hajj, I know that Sheikh Fulan is excellent. I would never ask him about transactions of selling gold and silver or stocks, because his knowledge in transactions and financial issues, no good. So again, you have to classify people and know exactly whether they are worthy of being a mujtahid in the madhab or not. And finally, it is permissible for a follower of, they all agree, the consensus of scholars, that the permissibility of following the imam and attributing rulings to him when convinced. It can a muqallid. What is the meaning of a muqallid? A follower of a madhab. This is coming from the noun at-taqleed. Taqleed means that you imitate. So the scholars all agree that a follower of a madhab or an imitator cannot give fatwa, because you are not qualified to give fatwa. You don't possess the knowledge. And this is why the vast majority of students of knowledge would always say, Sheikh ibn Baz says, or Imam Abu Hanifa says. They quote the one who gave the fatwa. They would not say, no, this is haram. Why? Because the Prophet said so and so and so. Whose opinion is this? Is mine. But are you mujtahid? No, I'm a muqallid. Then you do not have the right to give fatwa. You have to attribute the fatwa to the one who said it, who is a mujtahid, who is an imam by himself. طيب. خلاص? يا شيخ, we have يلا.